Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all honor, glory, and praise unto Yahweh Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'Hashem, Barcha, Kodash. Double honors and respect to the elders and to the apostles, the great millstone. Peace and blessing to all Akim that are preaching and teaching His word with 100% truth and sincerity, and unto the men, women, and children that are listening and learning, and unto the Bayath of Dabadah, the elect house of David that is scattered abroad. I give you my utmost and sincere citations. So now we're going to go into the captivity series. This is about the Babylonian captivity, which happened after this happened after the fall of the Assyrian Empire, which had the Northern Kingdom, which is your so-called Latinos, Native Americans, and Seminole Indians in captivity. Okay, so we're going to go into a little bit of the history, and then we're going to go and get some scripts, and Lord willing, to be edifying into the body, into the few sincere believers and listeners. All right, so Babylonian captivity, as it says right here. It says the Babylonian captivity or Babylonian exile was the period in history during which a large number of Judeans from the ancient kingdom of Judah, the southern kingdom, were forcibly relocated to Babylonia by the Neo-Babylonian Empire. The deportations occurred in multiple waves. After the siege of Jerusalem in 597 BCE, around 7,000 individuals were deported to Mesopotamia. Further deportations followed the destruction of Jerusalem and Solomon's Temple in 587 BCE. The biblical account after the Battle of Carchemish in 605 BCE, the Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar II besieged Jerusalem, which resulted in tribute being paid by the Judean king Jehoiakim. In the fourth year of Nebuchadnezzar II's reign, Jehoiakim refused to pay further tribute, which led to another siege of the city in Nebuchadnezzar II's seventh year, 598 to 597 BCE, that culminated in the death of Jehoiakim and the exile to Babylonia of his successor Jeconiah. Let's see here. Okay. And he was the son of successor of King Jehoiakim. Okay, his court and many others. Jeconiah's successor, which is Zedekiah, and if you go into the scriptures, Zedekiah was formerly known as Mattaniah, but it was changed to Zedekiah under Nebuchadnezzar's authority. And others were exiled when Nebuchadnezzar II destroyed Jerusalem in his 18th year, 587 BCE. And later deportation occurred in Nebuchadnezzar II's 23rd year, 582 BCE. However, the dates and numbers of deportation and numbers of deportees vary in several biblical accounts. Okay, so let's see. Now, before I get into this, I'm going to read the siege of Jerusalem. As it says right here, the siege of Jerusalem, 597 BCE, was a military campaign carried out by Nebuchadnezzar II, king of the Neo-Babylonian Empire, in which he besieged Jerusalem, the capital of the kingdom of Judah. The city surrendered, and its king Jeconiah was deported to Babylon and replaced by his Babylonian-appointed uncle Zedekiah. The siege is recorded in both the Hebrew Bible and 2 Kings chapter 24, verse 10 through 16, and the Babylonian Nebuchadnezzar Chronicle. In 601 BC, Nebuchadnezzar II unsuccessfully attempted to take Egypt and was repulsed with heavy losses. Jehoiakim, the king of Judah, seized the opportunity to revolt against Babylonian rule, taking a pro-Egyptian position despite the strong remonstrances of the prophet Jeremiah. The circumstances of Jehoiakim's death are not clear. He was succeeded by his young son Jeconiah. The Babylonians besieged Jerusalem in 597 BCE. The city surrendered Jeconiah, his court, and other prominent cities, and craftsmen were deported to Babylon. This event is considered to be the start of the Babylonian captivity and the diaspora. Jeconiah's uncle, Zedekiah, was installed as a vassal king of Judah. A decade later, Zedekiah launched another rebellion against the Babylonians, which was brutally crushed by Nebuchadnezzar II in 587 BCE. A second siege of Jerusalem culminated in the destruction of the city and Solomon's temple, bringing an end to the kingdom of Judah. Alright, so let's go down a bit. Let's see. Also, there's as for Jehoiakim is thought to have died during the siege, possibly on 598 BC or during the months of Kislev or Tevet. Nebuchadnezzar pillaged the city and its temples, and the new king Jeconiah, who was either 8 or 18, and his court and other prominent citizens and craftsmen were deported to Babylon. The deportation occurred prior to Nisan in 597 BC, and the dates in the book of Ezekiel are counted from that event. Nebuchadnezzar installed Jeconiah's uncle Zedekiah as a puppet king of Judah, and Jeconiah was compelled to remain in Babylon. Alright, so let's see. I'm trying to get to the point here. So, okay, here we go. The biblical accounts of the exile. In the late 7th century BC, the kingdom of Judah was a client state of the Assyrian Empire. In the last decades, what they mean by a client state is in the field of international relations, a client state is a state that is economically, politically, and militarily subordinated to a more powerful controlling state. Alternative terms for a client state are satellite state, associate state, or dominion, condominium, or self-governing colony. Okay, so the Southern Kingdom, well, during the time of the Assyrian Empire, the Southern Kingdom, even though the Assyrians took the Northern Kingdom into captivity, but the Southern Kingdom was still under the influence of the Assyrian Empire at the time. It says here, okay, it was a client state of the Assyrian Empire in the last decades of the century. Assyria was overthrown by Babylon and Assyrian province, Egypt. Fearing the sudden rise of the Neo-Babylonian Empire, seized control of the Assyrian territory up to the Euphrates River in Syria, but Babylon counterattacked. In the process, Josiah, king of Judah, was killed in the battle with the Egyptians at the Battle of Megiddo. After the defeat of Pharaoh Necho's army by the Babylonians at Carchemish in 605 BCE, Jehoiakim began paying tribute to Nebuchadnezzar II of Babylon. Some of the young nobility of Judah were taken to Babylon. Okay? And let's see. Okay, it says, in the following years, the court of Jerusalem was divided into two parties, one supporting Egypt and the other Babylon. After Nebuchadnezzar was defeated in the battle of 601 BCE by Egypt, Judah revolted against Babylon, culminating a 3-month siege of Jerusalem. Beginning in the late 598 BCE, Jehoiakim, the king of Judah, died during the siege, and was succeeded by his son Jehoiakim, also called Jeconiah, at the age of 18. The city fell on 2 Adar, 597 BCE, and Nebuchadnezzar pillaged Jerusalem and its temple and took Jeconiah, his court, and other prominent citizens, including the prophet Ezekiel, back to Babylon. Jehoiakim's uncle Zedekiah was appointed king in his place, but the exiles in Babylon continued to consider Jeconiah as their exilarch, leader of the Jew community in Mesopotamia during the era of the Parthians, the Sassanians, and the Abbasid Caliphate up to the Mongol invasion of Baghdad in 1258. With intermittent gaps due to ongoing political developments. Okay. Or rightful ruler. Despite warnings from Jeremiah and others of the pro-Babylonian party, Zedekiah revolted against Babylon and entered into an alliance with Pharaoh Hophra. Nebuchadnezzar returned, defeated the Egyptians, and again besieged Jerusalem, resulting in the city's destruction in 587 BCE. Nebuchadnezzar destroyed the city wall and temple together with the houses of the most important citizens. Zedekiah and his sons were captured, and the sons were executed in front of Zedekiah, who was then blinded and taken to Babylon with many others. Judah became a Babylonian province called Yehud, putting an end to the independent kingdom of Judah because of the missing years in the calendar. Rabbinic sources place the date of destruction of the first temple. Okay, and such and such. Okay, so all right, now this is going more into the Babylonian Chronicles with the first campaign, second, and the aftermath of Judah. I'm not going to go too much into it, but you can read it on your own time. But just to stay on point here with the Babylonian captivity, we're going to go into the book of 2 Kings, chapter 23, as to why did the Lord decide that Babylonian captivity was going to be or as to why it happened. This is the book of 2 Kings, chapter 23, starting at verse 24. And it says, "Moreover, the workers with familiar spirits, and the wizards, and the images and the idols, and all the abominations that were spied in the land of Judah and in Jerusalem did Josiah put away, that he might perform the words of the law which were written in the book that Hilkiah the priest found in the house of the Lord." Verse 25, "And like unto him was there no king before him, that turned to the Lord with all his heart, and with all his soul, and with all his might, according to all the law of Moses, neither after him arose there any like him." Verse 26, "Notwithstanding the Lord turned not from the fierceness of his great wrath, wherewith his anger was kindled against Judah, because of all the provocations that Manasseh had provoked him withal." Okay? And what did Manasseh do to provoke the Lord? He was committing abominable acts, setting up false idols, and worshiping Baal, sacrificing his children, and all the such, just doing things that were there we go, Manasseh of Judah. Okay, let's get a little. And it says here that in this biblical account, okay, it says here, let's see, Manasseh was the 14th king of the kingdom of Judah, and was the oldest of the sons of Hezekiah, and Hephzibah, and it's in 2 Kings 21:1. He became king at the age of 12 and reigned for 55 years. And the biblical account, so the biblical account, the Hebrew Bible documents Manasseh in 2 Kings 21 chapter. 2 Kings chapter 21, verse 1 through 18, and 2 Chronicles 32, verse 33 through verse 33. Okay, and also chapter 33, verse 20. He is also mentioned in Jeremiah chapter 15, verse 4, where the prophet Jeremiah predicts 4 forms of destruction for the people of Judah because of the evil done by Manasseh in Judah. Manasseh, let's see. Let's see, I'm trying to get to the point here. Let's see. Now let me just let me get the book of Slack here. There we go. I'm just going to go ahead and get the script that's right there. This is 2 Kings chapter 21, verse 1. It says, Manasseh was 12 years old when he began to reign, and reigned 50 and 5 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Hephzibah. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, after the abominations of the heathen, whom the Lord cast out before the children of Israel. Verse 3, for he built up again the high places, which Hezekiah his father had destroyed, and he reared up altars for Baal, and made a grove, and did as did Ahab, king of Israel, and worshipped all the host of heaven, and served them. Verse 4, and he built altars in the house of the Lord, of which the Lord said, in Jerusalem in Jerusalem will I put my name. 25. And he built altars for all the host of heaven, and in the 2 courts of the house of the Lord. And he made his son pass through the fire, and observed times, and used enchantments, and dealt with familiar spirits and wizards. He wrought much wickedness in the sight of the Lord, to provoke him to anger. Verse 7, he set graven images of the grove that he made in the house, of which the Lord said to David and to Solomon his son, and in this house and in Jerusalem, which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel, will I put my name forever. Okay? Now verse 8 says, neither will I make the feet of Israel move any more out of the land, which I gave their fathers, only if they will observe to do according to all that I have commanded them, and according to all the law that my servant Moses commanded them. Verse 9, but they hearkened not, and Manasseh seduced them to do more evil than did the nations whom the Lord destroyed before the children of Israel. In verse 10, the Lord spake by his servants the prophets, saying, because Manasseh king of Judah hath done these abominations, and hath done wickedly above all that the Amorites did, which were before him, and hath made Judah also to sin with his idols. Verse 12, therefore thus saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushua of Israel, behold, I am bringing such evil upon Jerusalem and Judah, that whosoever heareth it, both his ears shall tingle. Okay? So Yahweh Bashem Yahushua was, they're going to hearken. He's going to force them to listen. And they're going to wish they had listened. Okay? Verse 13, I will stretch over Jerusalem the line of Samaria, and the plummet of the house of Ahab, and I will wipe Jerusalem as a man wipeth the dish, wiping it and turning it upside down. In verse 14, I will forsake the remnant of mine inheritance, and deliver them into the hand of their enemies. And they shall become a prey and a spoil to all their enemies, because they have done that which is evil in my sight, and have provoked me to anger since the day their fathers came forth out of Egypt, even unto this day. Moreover, Manasseh shed innocent blood very much, till he had filled Jerusalem from one end to another, beside his sin, wherewith he made Judah to sin, in doing that which was evil in the sight of the Lord. Now Verse 7, now the rest of the acts of Manasseh, all that he did, and his sin that he sinned, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? Okay, so there you go. So because of Manasseh's evil doings is the reason why Israel has to suffer. Okay, going back to chapter 23, 2 Kings chapter 23, verse 20. Yeah, I left off at 26, so I'll read 26 again. Notwithstanding, the Lord turned not from the fierceness of his great wrath, wherewith his anger was kindled against Judah, because of all the provocations that Manasseh had provoked him withal. 27, and the Lord said, I will remove Judah out of my sight, also out of my sight, as I have removed Israel. I will cast off the city Jerusalem, which I have chosen, and the house of which I said my name shall be there. 28, now the rest of the acts of Josiah, and all that he did, are they not written in the book of Chronicles of the kings of Judah? 29, in the days of Pharaoh Necho, king of Egypt, went up against the king of Assyria to the river Euphrates, and King Josiah went against him, and he slew him at Megiddo when he had seen him. 30, and his servants carried him in a chariot dead from Megiddo, and brought him to Jerusalem, and buried him in his own sepulchre. And the people of the land took Jehoahaz, the son of Josiah, and anointed him, and made him king in his father's stead. Okay, now let me see something here. Let's see. Slovakia. Get a Just bear with me for a moment. Just checking something real quick here. Let's see. Okay, let's see. Yeah, this is the book of First Esdras. And Esdras is Ezra, so this is an account from Ezra here. In the book of First Esdras in the Apocrypha, chapter 1. Starting at verse 20. So start at verse 25. It says, now after all these acts of Josiah, which is Josiah, it came to pass that Pharaoh, the king of Egypt at the time, Necho, came to rise war at Carchemish upon Euphrates, and Josiah went out against him. But the king of Egypt sent to him, saying, what have I to do with thee, O king of Judea? And 27 says, I am not sent out from the Lord Yahweh Bashem El Shai against thee, for my war is upon Euphrates. And now the Lord is with me. Yea, the Lord is with me, hasten me forward. Depart from me, and be not against the Lord. Howbeit Josiah did not turn back his chariot from him, but undertook to fight with him, not regarding the words of the prophet Jeremiah, spoken by the mouth of the Lord, but joined battle with him in the plain of Megiddo, and the princes came against King Josiah. Verse 30, then said the king unto his servants, carry me away out of the battle, for I am very weak. And immediately his servants took him away out of the battle. Then gave he upon his second chariot, and being brought back to Jerusalem, died and was buried with his father in his father's sepulchre. Okay? And all the in verse 32, and all the jury they mourned for Josiah, yea, Jeremiah the prophet, lamented for Josiah, and the chief men with the women made lamentation for him unto this day, and this was given out for an ordinance to be done continually in all the nation of Israel. Okay. Let's see. We'll go down to verse 34 here. It says, and the people took Jehoahaz, the son of Josiah, and made him king instead, and Josiah his father, when he was 20 and 3 years old. Verse 35, and he reigned in Judea and in Jerusalem 3 months, and then the king of Egypt deposed him from reigning in Jerusalem, and he set a tax upon the land 100 talents of silver and 1 talent of gold. The king of Egypt also made King Jehoiakim, his brother, king of Judah in Jerusalem. And he bound Jehoiakim and the nobles. Okay, but Xerxes, his brother, he apprehended and brought him out of Egypt. Okay, so this right here is just going over the account from Ezra. You know that King Josiah at the time. Egypt was going up against the the Assyrians. And, Josiah got in the way, got himself killed, and his son Jeconiah or Jehoiakim. Let's see. Yeah, it was Jeconiah. His son had to take his place. Okay, so that like right here, the Battle of Carchemish. It was between the armies of Egypt, allied with the remnants of the armies of the former Assyrian Empire against the armies of Babylonia, allied with Medes and Scythians. This was while Nebuchadnezzar II was commander in chief, and Nabopolassar, which is the father of Nebuchadnezzar, was still king in Babylon. Nebuchadnezzar became king a few weeks after this battle. Okay, so when the Assyrian capital Nineveh was overrun by the Medes, the Scythians, the Babylonians, and their allies in 612 BC, the Assyrians moved their capital to Haran. Okay, which is right here. It's when Haran was captured by the alliance in 609 BC, and in the Assyrian Empire, remnants of the Assyrians' army joined Carchemish, a city under Egyptian rule on the Euphrates. Egypt, as a former vassal of Assyria, was allied with Assyrian king Ashur-uballit II, okay, and marched in 609 BC to aid him against the Babylonians. Okay, and so here the Egyptian army of Pharaoh Necho II was delayed at Megiddo by the force of King Josiah of Judah. Josiah was killed, and his army was defeated at the Battle of Megiddo. The Egyptians and the Assyrians together crossed the Euphrates to lay siege to Haran, which they failed to retake. And then they retreated to northwestern Assyria, in what is now northeastern Syria. Okay, so, and it says here that the Egyptians met the full might of the Babylonian and Median army, led by Nebuchadnezzar II, and at Carchemish, where the combined Egyptian and Assyrian forces were destroyed. Assyria ceased to exist as an independent power, and Egypt retreated and was no longer a significant force in the ancient Near East. Babylonia reached its economic peak at 605 BC. Okay, now going into the let me get it. Pharaoh Necho, I think. Yeah. Pharaoh Necho. And it says that Pharaoh Necho II here was king of the 26th dynasty. And it says here, that Pharaoh Necho played a significant role in the histories of the Neo-Assyrian Empire and the Neo-Babylonian Empire and the Kingdom of Judah. It says Necho II is most likely the Pharaoh Necho who was mentioned in 2 Kings, 2 Chronicles, and Jeremiah of the Bible. The aim of the second of Necho's campaigns was Asiatic conquest to contain the westward advance of the Neo-Babylonian Empire and cut off its trade route to the Euphrates. Across the Euphrates, however, the Egyptians were defeated by the unexpected attack of the Babylonians and were eventually expelled from Syria. Okay, so just a little bit of history there. Right here, see, there we go. Okay, so Necho returned to Egypt. On his return march, he found that the Judeans had selected Jehoahaz to succeed his father, Josiah, whom Necho deposed and replaced with Jehoiakim. And Jehoiakim was, he was the second son of King Josiah. He brought Jehoahaz back to Egypt as his prisoner, where Jehoahaz ended his days. Okay, so there you go. Now going back to 2 Kings chapter 23, verse verse 30, it says, and his servants carried him in a chariot dead from Megiddo, this is talking about King Josiah, and brought him to Jerusalem and buried him in his own sepulchre. And the people of the land took Jehoahaz, the son of Josiah, and anointed him and made him king of his father's stead. 31. Jehoahaz was 23 years old when he began to reign. And he reigned 3 months in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Hamutal, the daughter of Jeremiah of Libnah. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his fathers had done. And Pharaoh Necho put him in bands at Riblah in the land of Hamath, that he might not reign in Jerusalem, and put the land to a tribute of 100 talents of silver and a talent of gold. And Pharaoh Necho made Eliakim, the son of Josiah, king in the room of Josiah his father, and turned his name to Jehoiakim, and took Jehoahaz away, and he came to Egypt and died there. Okay. So that right there explains that part. Now, so basically at this point, Judah, the king of Judah was to pay tribute. Okay. Verse 35, and Jehoiakim gave the silver and the gold to Pharaoh, but he taxed the land to give money according to the commandment of Pharaoh. He exacted the silver and the gold of the people of the land, and everyone according to his taxation, to give it unto Pharaoh Necho. Jehoiakim was 25 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Zebediah, the daughter of Pedaiah and Rumah. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his fathers had done. Now we're going to go to the book of Second Kings, chapter 24. Verse 1. And it says, in the days of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came up, and Jehoiakim became his servant 3 years. Then he turned and rebelled against him. And the Lord sent against him bands of the Chaldees, and bands of the Syrians, and bands of the Moabites, and bands of the children of Ammon, and sent them against Judah to destroy it, according to the word of the Lord which he spake by his servant the prophets. Surely at the commandment, just let me get this right here, turn this page. Surely at the commandment of the Lord came this upon Judah, to remove them out of his sight for the sins of Manasseh, according to all that he did. Verse 4, and also for the innocent blood that he shed, for he filled Jerusalem with innocent blood, which the Lord would not pardon. Verse 5, now the rest of the acts of Jehoiakim, and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? So Jehoiakim slept with his fathers, and Jehoiakim, his son, reigned in his stead. Verse 7, and the king of Egypt came not again any more out of his land, for the king of Babylon had taken from the river of Egypt unto the river Euphrates all that pertained to the king of Egypt. Jehoiakim was 18 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned in Jerusalem 3 months, and his mother's name was Nehushta, the daughter of Elnathan and of Jerusalem. And he did which was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his fathers had done. At that time the servants of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came up against Jerusalem, and the city was besieged. Okay, so even, these kings, man, they kept doing evil in the sight of the Lord, and the judgment became more and more harsh. Verse 11, and Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came against the city, and his servants did besiege it. Okay. In verse 12, and Jehoiakim, the king of Judah, went out to the king of Babylon here, he and his mother and his servants and his princes and his officers. And the king of Babylon took him in the eighth year of his reign. 13, and he carried out thence all treasures of the house and of the Lord, and the treasure of the king's house, and cut in pieces all the vessels of gold which Solomon, king of Israel, had made in the temple of the Lord, as the Lord had said. And he carried away all Jerusalem, and all the princes, and all the mighty men of valor, and even 10,000 captives, and all the craftsmen and smiths. None remained, save the poorest sort of the people of the land. And he carried away Jehoiakim to Babylon, and the king's mother, and the king's wives, and his officers, and the mighty of the land. Those he carried into captivity from Jerusalem to Babylon, and all the men might, even 7,000, and craftsmen and smiths, and 1,000, and all that were strong and apt for war. Even them the king of Babylon brought captive to Babylon. And the king of Babylon made Mattaniah, who was later surnamed Zedekiah, his father's brother, king in his stead, and changed his name to Zedekiah. Zedekiah was 21 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Hamutal, the daughter of Jeremiah of Libnah. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that Jehoiakim had done. For though the anger of the Lord, it came to pass in Jerusalem and Judah, until he had cast them out from his presence, that Zedekiah rebelled against the king of Babylon. And there's the book of 2 Kings 25, verse 1. It says, and it came to pass in the 9th year of his reign, in the 10th month, in the 10th day of the month, that Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came, he and all his hosts, against Jerusalem, and pitched against it, and they built forts against it, and round about. And the city was besieged unto the 11th year of King Zedekiah. And on the 9th day of the 4th month, the famine prevailed in the city, and there was no bread for the people of the land. So, at that time in the kingdom of Judah, the people were famished. No food, no substance. Verse 4. And the city was broken up, and all the men of war fled by night by the way of the gate, between two walls, which was by the king's garden. Now the Chaldeans were against the city round about, and the king went the way toward the plain. And the army of the Chaldeans pursued after the king, and overtook him in the plains of Jericho, and all his army were scattered from him. So they took the king and brought him up to the king of Babylon in Riblah, and they gave judgment upon him. And they slew the sons of Zedekiah before his eyes, and put out the eyes of Zedekiah. So they gouged his eyes out, and bound him with fetters of brass, and carried him to Babylon. In the 5th month and the 7th day of the month, which is the 19th year of King Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came Nebuzaradan, captain of the guard and servant of the king of Babylon, into Jerusalem. And he burnt the house of the Lord, and the king's house, and all the houses of Jerusalem. And every great man's house burnt he with fire. And all the army of the Chaldees that were with the captain of the guard brake down the walls of Jerusalem round about. And the rest of the people that were left in the city, and the fugitives that fell away to the king of Babylon with the remnant of the multitude, did Nebuzaradan, the captain of the guard, carry away. But the captain of the guard left with the poor of the land to be vine dressers and husbandmen, so basically be tillers of the land, farmers. Okay, so Babylon did a number on the kingdom of Judah. Did a real number. Tore the place apart. Okay, and now I'm going to get the book of, let's see, go there. Let's see, this is going to be Jeremiah chapter 25, verse 1. And it says, the word that came to Jeremiah concerning all the people of Judah in the 4th year of Jehoiakim, the son of Josiah, king of Judah, that was the 1st year of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon. Verse 2, that which Jeremiah the prophet spake unto all the people of Judah, and to all the inhabitants of Jerusalem, saying, from the 13th year of Josiah, the son of Amon, king of Judah, even unto this day, that is the 23rd year. So the 23rd year. The word of the Lord hath come unto me, and I have spoken unto you, rising early and speaking, but ye have not hearkened. Verse 4. And the Lord hath sent unto you all his servants the prophets, rising early and sending them, but ye have not hearkened, nor inclined your ear to hear. Verse 5. They said, turn ye again now every one from his evil way, and from the evil of your doings, and dwell in the land that the Lord hath given unto you and to your fathers forever and ever. Verse 6, and go not after other gods to serve them and to worship them and to provoke me not to anger with the works of your hands, and I will do you no hurt. Verse 7, yet ye have not hearkened unto me, saith the Lord, that ye might provoke me to anger with the works of your hands to your own hurt. Verse 8, therefore thus saith the Lord Yahweh, the Lord of hosts, because ye have not heard my words, behold, I will send and take all the families of the north, saith the Lord, and Nebuchadnezzar the king of Babylon my servant, and will bring them against this land and against the inhabitants thereof, and against all these nations round about, and will utterly destroy them and make them and will utterly destroy them and make them an astonishment and an hissing and perpetual desolations. Moreover, I will take from them the voice of mirth and the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom, the voice of the bride, and the sound of the millstone, and the light of the candle. And this whole land shall be desolate and an astonishment, and these nations shall serve the king of Babylon 70 years. So, our captivity in Babylon, the southern kingdom's captivity in Babylon was 70 years. And it says, verse 12, and it shall come to pass when 70 years are accomplished, that I will punish the king of Babylon and that nation, saith the Lord, for their iniquity in the land of the Chaldeans, and will make it perpetual desolations. Okay? All right, now we're going to go to, let's see. Now, this is going to be Jeremiah chapter 39, starting at verse 1. And it says, "In the 9th year of Zedekiah, king of Judah, in the 10th month, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, and all his armies against Jerusalem, and they besieged it." Okay, this is just from Jeremiah's point of view of what happened during the siege of Jerusalem. Verse 2, "And in the 11th year of Zedekiah, in the 4th month, the 9th day of the month, the city was broken up, and all the princes of the king of Babylon came in and sat in the middle gate, even Nergal-Sharezer, Samgar-Nebo, Sarsekim, Rabsaris, Nergal-Sharezer, Rabmag, with all the residue of the princes of the king of Babylon. And it came to pass that when Zedekiah the king of Judah saw them and all the men of war, then they fled and went forth out of the city by night by the way of the king's garden, by the gate betwixt the two walls. And he went out the way of the plain." Verse 5, "But the Chaldeans army pursued after them and overtook Zedekiah in the plains of Jericho." So like I said, once again, this is from Jeremiah's point of view. So, Lord willing, if the spirit of Yahweh Shema Shai permits, I was going to do a lesson on the timelines between Jeremiah, Ezra, Daniel, and Ezekiel, because they were all in Babylon, as well as Nehemiah. But like I said, this is just from Jeremiah's point of view, but it's basically the same story, just from a different prophet, different wording. Let me get Psalms. It's going to be the book of Psalms. It's going to be the book of Psalms, chapter 137. I think it was 137. Yeah. Let me just get to that real quick. Psalms 130. Yep. Yeah, there it is. Okay. Let me just get to the point here. Let's see. Yep. This is Psalms 137, verse 7. "Remember, O Lord, the children of Edom in the day of Jerusalem, who said, raise it, even to the foundation thereof." Verse 8, "O daughter of Babylon, who art to be destroyed, happy shall he be that rewardeth thee, as thou hast served us." Okay. And it says, verse 9, "Happy shall he be that taketh and dasheth thy little ones against the stones." All right, so going back to verse 7, "Remember, O Lord, the children of Edom in the day of Jerusalem, who said, raise it, even to the foundation thereof." So, you had all these different nations, but mainly Babylon that, sieged the Jerusalem. Edom, the nation of Edom, the so-called Caucasians or white people, they were up in there too. They were tearing shit down too. All right. Now this is going to go to the book of Ezekiel, chapter 23. So, this right here tells you, that last scripture, Psalms 137, verse 7, Edom has had his hand in, the destruction of Jerusalem and Israel altogether. And even right now, the people who are in power, the modern day Egyptians, Babylonians, okay, and the modern day Romans are the Edomites. And the Romans back then, they were also Edomites as well. Okay. So, we're under the modern day Egyptians are the Edomites, because they take after the cultures and the customs of these other nations. Okay, because Edom, he's a colonizer. He takes from the natives of their own land and he makes it his own, because he has no originality of his own. He has to take from others and make it his own. This is going to be the book of Ezekiel, chapter 23, starting at verse 1. Ezekiel 23 and 1. The word of the Lord came again unto me, saying, Son of man, there were two women, the daughters of one mother, and they committed whoredoms in Egypt. They committed whoredoms in their youth. They were their breasts pressed, and they were bruised the teats of their virginity. Verse 4. And the names of them were Aholah the elder, and Aholibah her sister. And they were mine, and they bare sons and daughters. Thus were their names. Samaria is Aholah, and Jerusalem is Aholibah. So he's talking about the northern kingdom, you so-called Latinos, Native Americans, Seminole Indians, and Aholibah, the Jerusalem, which is the southern kingdom, which is, the so-called Negroes, Jamaicans, and Haitians. Okay? So, continuing, because, both the northern and southern kingdom, we were all in Egypt committing whoredoms, committing abominable acts, chasing after the heathen nations' customs, their courtesies, their gods, their ways of life. Verse 5, and Aholah played the harlot when she was mine, and she doted on her lovers, on the Assyrians, her neighbors. So the northern kingdom was, following after the Assyrians. Verse 6, which were clothed with blue captains and rulers, all of them desirable young men, horsemen riding upon horses. So, the Assyrians, they had nice, good clothing like nobles, okay? Signs of nobility, kingship, royalty, and, the northern kingdom, they took an interest into that stuff when they shouldn't. Okay, verse 7, thus she committed her whoredoms with them, with all them that were the chosen men of Assyria, and with all on whom she doted, with all their idols she defiled herself. Verse 8, neither left she her whoredoms brought from Egypt, for in her youth they lay with her, and they bruised the breast of her virginity, and poured the whoredom upon her. So, the northern kingdom, followed after the ways of the Assyrians. And just like, with a woman, with like a beautiful young woman who becomes enthralled by a man who looks good, has nice clothing and all that, she wants to get with him. She sees that he has power, he has, the resources and all that. She followed, and that's because you have to remember the kingdom of Israel is likened unto a comely and delicate woman, a very beautiful and feminine woman. Okay? So think about it. When a woman, when she sets her sights on a man, she sees that he's very attractive, has a lot going for himself, especially if he's rich, wealthy, wears good clothing, looks good, smells good and all that, that's desirable in her eyes. Okay? Verse 9, wherefore I have delivered her into the hand of her lovers, into the hand of the Assyrians upon whom she doted. So, the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom, the northern kingdom became just like, these modern day prostitutes. When they see a man that looks, like I said, when they see a man that looks good, they think, money, wealth. So she followed after them. So, both the northern kingdom and southern kingdom have played the role of a harlot. Verse 10, they discovered her nakedness. They took her sons and her daughters and slew her with the sword. And she became famous among women, for they had executed judgment upon her. Okay? And this is what the Assyrians did to the northern kingdom when they took them in captivity. Slew her young. The young men, the young women. Okay? Verse 11, and when her sister Aholibah, the southern kingdom, Jerusalem, saw this, she was more corrupt in her inordinate love than she, and in her whoredoms, more than her sister in her whoredoms. So the southern kingdom was more corrupt. Verse 12, she doted upon the Assyrians, her neighbors, captains and rulers, and clothed with most gorgeously, horsemen, riding upon horses, and all of them desirable young men. Then I saw that she was defiled, that they took both one away. both one way. And that she increased her whoredoms, for when she saw men portrayed upon the wall the images of the Chaldeans, which are the Babylonians, portrayed with vermilion, girded with girdles upon their loins, exceeding in dyed attire upon their heads, and all of them princes to look to after the manner of the Babylonians of Chaldea, the land of their nativity. So, even though Jerusalem had become a client state to the Assyrians, and they still fall, they're still, under the influence of the Assyrian Empire, but they still were, marveling after the nobility of the Babylonians. Okay. So the Southern Kingdom, the so-called Negroes, Jamaicans, and Haitians, that make up, the so-called blacks, you guys have done worse than the Northern Kingdom did. Okay. So, and it's in verse 16, and as soon as she saw them with her eyes, she doted upon them, and sent messengers unto them in Chaldea. And the Babylonians came to her into the bed of love, and they defiled her with her whoredom. And she was polluted with them, and her mind was alienated from them. So she discovered her whoredoms, and discovered her nakedness, then my mind was alienated from her, like as my mind was alienated from her sister. This is talking about the Lord, man. He was, both northern and southern kingdom, they didn't think upon the Lord, man. And this really disgusted the Lord. It displeased him. And that's why the Lord, put them away out of the land. Okay. Verse 19. Yet she multiplied her whoredoms, and calling to remembrance the days of her youth, wherein she had played the harlot in the land of Egypt. For she doted upon their paramours, whose flesh is as the flesh of asses, and whose issue is like the issue of horses. Verse 21, thus thou callest to remembrance the lewdness of thy youth, and bruising thy teeth by the Egyptians, for the paps of the youth. Verse 22, therefore, O Aholibah, thus saith the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, behold, I will raise up thy lovers against thee, from whom thy mind is alienated, and I will bring them against thee on every side. 23, the Babylonians and all the Chaldeans, Pekod and Shoah and Koa, and all the Assyrians with them, all of them desirable young men, captains and rulers, great lords and renowned men, renowned all of them riding upon horses. And they shall come against thee with chariots, wagons, and wheels, and with an assembly of people, which shall set against thee buckler and shield and helmet round about, and I will set judgment before them, and they shall judge thee according to the judgments. Okay? Verse 25, and I will set my jealousy against thee, and they shall deal furiously with thee. They shall take away thy nose and thine ears, and thy remnant shall fall by the sword. They shall take thy sons and thy daughters, and thy residue shall be devoured by the fire. Okay? Because, because of the fact that we followed after the ways of the heathen, this is what happened. The Lord had to punish us severely by having these other nations rise up against us, and take us captive, okay? Because we followed after their ways, their customs, okay? So, like a whore that goes a-whoring, instead of staying faithful unto her husband, because, Israel, the whole nation of Israel is like I said, liken her to a comely and delicate woman, while the Father, Yahweh, He's our husband. Spiritually, He is our husband. Okay? We were married unto Him because of the sprinkling and the blood, the covenant. Okay? We made that covenant with the Most High back in the desert, in the wilderness, after He brought us up out of the land of Egypt. So, when it comes to being married, according to the scripture, when a man takes a virgin and he lays down with her, that combining between the semen, the seed, and the blood, after breaking a woman's hymen, that's that covenant, that's that compact, that's that that's that consummation of marriage, husband and wife. Okay? So, how much more are we supposed to be loyal to the Most High? If a woman is supposed to be loyal to her man, you know? So that's just part of the Captivity series, how we got to, how we got into Babylon and what we had to deal with. Okay, and Lord willing, I'm gonna do a lesson on the timelines of Ezra, Nehemiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, and Daniel, because they were all in Babylon at one point. Sure, their timelines are different, but they were all in Babylon. But on that, Lord willing, that this was an edifying lesson unto the body and to the few sincere believers and listeners. And with the closing, I would like to give all honor, glory, and praise unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Racha, Badash. Double honors and respect to the elders and to the apostle of the great millstone. Peace and blessing to all Akim that are preaching and teaching His word with 100% truth and sincerity. And unto the men, women, and children that are listening and learning. And unto the Bayath of Dawadah, the elect house of David that is scattered abroad, I give you my utmost and sincere salutations. See you in the next lesson, Lord willing. Kwam Yasharallah, Wa Abad Bal, Shalom, Barakatam.